Hey again, it's Timber Creek Mick here. Just thought since I'm just made my first video here today about shooting some of these black powder shotgun shells outside, I thought, well, maybe I should have a little instructional video showing how we actually make these. And so it's a little bit different process than what we do with the smokeless, because we're doing it basically the old-fashioned way, the way they did it, back 75, 80, 100 years ago, except they had paper shells. And so what we're going to do here is we're going to start with a once factory Winchester AA. Pretty common, a lot of people shoot them, and for cowboy action, especially the low recoil. But what we need to do with this is to take, and we're going to cut the factory crimp off of that, because we're not going to use that crimp. We're going to put a roll crimp on, an old-fashioned roll crimp. So how we do that is I got this handy dandy little item here from Ballistic Products. Works real simple. You can see it automatically has a stop there, so you just run that up onto there. There's a blade, a razor blade on there, and it's got a spring action. It closes, and we just turn it. Just keep turning it till it takes that piece off there. A couple turns is all it takes, and see that comes apart. And then that crimp comes off, and that just goes in the garbage. Then we've got a shotgun shell here. Again, with that factory crimp off of there, it does shorten this. This is going to be a little bit less than a 2 3/4 inch shell, which is fine, doesn't hurt anything. Of course, obviously, the next thing we got to do is we got to take the old primer out and put a new primer in. You'll see I've got two reloaders here. This was my old Mech 600 Junior that I started out with years ago, and it works pretty good for this, because all I'm going to do basically is just knock the primer out, put a new primer in. Right next to it over here is shout out to GW Wade. He was the one that turned me onto the Ponsness Warren 375. It's one of the, if you want a good single stage shotgun shell reloader, this is probably one of the best. It makes it, I mean, they come out perfect every time. But for what we're doing, it's just easier just to use the mech here, because like I said, all we're going to do is just put that over the first stage, knock the primer out, go to the next stage, put a primer in. That's basically all we're going to do with that. So there we got a new primer in there. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to put it in this. We got this handy dandy little shell vise. Again, that's another thing from Ballistic Products, but it makes it nice because it holds that shotgun shell very stable for us, so we can work on it. And then the rest is just components, and you'll see here some of our components that we're going to work with. We've got our black powder here. This is black powder. It's Graf's 2F black powder. We've got shot here. This shot is just reclaimed shot. It's just a mix of shot that was picked up on a target range, so it's probably varies from 7.5 to 9 inch, but it works very well for this. For what we do, that works pretty well. And then we've got our different components for our shot shell. Like I said, we've got the shot shell. We've got an it's called a nitro card. It's 0.125 inches thick, and you don't necessarily need that. That's what we're going to put over the black powder charge. If you were looking to use more or less powder, you could probably get by with just using this fiber wad. This is a 1/2 inch fiber wad. Again, it just looks like some, it's not lubed or anything like that. It just looks like some compressed cardboard. And then we've got the overshot card, and this goes over the shot when we're all done. And it even says Ballistic Products. I think I pointed that out in that video when I was shooting it today. And then how to do that. I'm just going to set this down here. Excuse my thumbs in the way. Like I said, this is all kind of new to me. How I'm going to measure out the powder in the shot is use these Lee dippers. They're very common. A lot of people have them. They work very well. They're pretty, fairly uniform for what we're doing. This is a 2.8 cc dipper. And so that measures out to just about 39.7 grains of 2F, which is that's by weight, not by volume. And so I just use the dipper, dip it in there till it's till it's full, and dump it in your shot shell. Then I'm going to take this nitro card. I'm just going to get it started in there. Something that helps a lot too, I've just got a short piece of dowel, that works, and so that way I can get that that nitro card. You want to tamp that down there right on top of the powder. You don't have to tamp it hard, but the main thing that you want to do is you want to get that down and compress that powder a little bit to make sure there's no airspace, because that's the one thing that's different about black powder, is that, you know, it is an explosive. So you don't want to have any airspace in any air gap in there in your shell, or it could, you know, create some issues. And so we always want to make sure that you know, we've got that. And then we put our fiber wad in there, and again we just get it started. And again, that dowel comes in pretty handy. Just get it started in there, get it tamped down in there. So there's, and then this is a 4.3 cc's dipper, lead dipper, and that measures out the shot, so it's just right at about 1 ounce a shot. So we just pour that in the shell. It comes out there, and it makes a nice little, and then we just take our overshot card, put that on there. And truth be told, if you didn't have a roll crimper, you probably could get by with just putting a little glue like Duco cement, or like I said, I just use wood glue. But what works very nice is I've got then again, this comes from Ballistic Products as well. It's a roll crimper, and it's just a real simple metal. It's got you know, this fits right over the top of the shot shell, and basically what it does is it spins with the drill, spins clockwise, and it heats up. You know, and you want to run it for a little bit on there just to get the plastic good and warm. Put some pressure on it, and then it makes a nice roll crimp and a nice taper on the shell. So what we do, you just start it on here, and real light pressure to start with, and just get it spinning so it kind of warms up that the top of the shell to get. So then just add a little bit of pressure, and that's it. And like I said, it makes, there you can see, it just folds that plastic over the top of that card, and it does make a very nice taper at the top. So makes a pretty nice shotgun shell. Like I said, you can see from the video that we posted a little earlier, shooting these things, it's got plenty of knockdown, plenty of smoke, just makes it a little fun. So hope that helps, a little tutorial there, and we'll see you soon down the trail.